How's it going, NQ? Thanks so much for joining me on Unleash the Knowledge's mini-series titled 15 Minutes with Owen. Quick background on you. Your name is NQ, stands for In Question, which is very interesting. We'll dive into that in a second. You're a National Poetry Slam champion, award-winning poet, and multi-platinum songwriter. You've worked with some big names in the music industry, like Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, Mike Posner, and Aloe Blacc, just to name a few. Is
Mike
that
Posner.
Oh, actually, I apologize. Yeah, Mike Posner was actually someone you've worked on stage with, correct?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure you got the name right because it's Posner. He just texted me right now, so I was like, you know what? His name is Posner.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say?
No, I'm not putting that on you in a negative way.
Yeah,
I just want to clarify,
understood. All good. And something that I thought was impressive that I found out is you've performed in front of names like Quincy Jones and former U.S. President Barack Obama, which is very entertaining. I know you have tons of millions of views on videos, but to actually perform in front of big time names is obviously a great accomplishment, and obviously you've done pretty well in front of those names. You've also been named to Oprah's SuperSoul 100 list, which is a list of the world's most influential thought leaders, which I also think is a very big accomplishment. And on top of all that, you're the best-selling author of Inquire Within, which the subtitle reads, "If you change the present, you can change the past and the future." Very excited for the talk. We'll get right into it. I'll start my 15-minute timer, and we'll get some questions off.
Great.
So first question. Now, I've learned that obviously you didn't aspire to be a poet necessarily. I'm not sure if anyone really does, but you've found yourself in this amazing career. Can you give us a quick glimpse of how you were coming out of high school, who you were, what your vision was, where you were like heading towards mentally, and maybe quickly paint the picture of where you've gone to where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, Owen, thank you very much for having me, man. I appreciate your time as well, and I appreciate you sharing the poetry with your community. Yeah, I was born and raised in Santa Monica, California. My mom's a school teacher. My father was not around at all. And when I was around 15, I really started not only falling in love with hip hop, but expressing myself through freestyling and writing. And I would say that freestyling was my first form of meditation, because when you're freestyling, you can't think about anything else but the next line and the next rhyme. And so it not only put me in the moment, it, I think, allowed me an outlet and an avenue for some of the unexpressed thoughts and emotions that were trapped inside of my system. And I just absolutely was addicted. And then when I was 19 years old, I wound up at an open mic for poets in Los Angeles called the Poetry Lounge. And it turned out to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, open mics in the country. They've, before the quarantine at least, gotten 350 people for over 20 years. So it's like the coastal brother of the New Eurekan, which is in New York. And I just got on stage and I started doing my rapping a cappella, and people responded to it. And I was so moved by the audience, but also the performers. And I got a chance to experience people being celebrated for their vulnerability in a way that I hadn't in the past. And ultimately, I just kept going back every single week. And over the years, we were on HBO's Def Poetry Jam together, ended up winning the National Poetry Slam Championships, and that community became a family. And one day I woke up and realized I was more of a poet than an MC, and that was the beginning of the poetic journey.
That's amazing. Now, do you have any understanding of maybe where the gift of storytelling, forming words together, your use of language came from? Is it from just being a product of Santa Monica, hanging out with your buddies, or do you think it comes from your mother being a teacher?
I mean, that's interesting. I think it's difficult for me to say where my desire to pursue language came from. But I would say it is an amalgamation of everything that I experienced. It's a combination of my mom and where I grew up and the time period that I grew up, and how independent and free hip hop was at the time. I mean, nobody had a similar style. If you heard an artist, you knew exactly who that artist was because people took pride in making sure that their sound and their voice was their own. And that certainly inspired me deeply. Um, so it's a difficult question to answer, but I would say all of the above.
Awesome. That's awesome. So you said early on you were doing the acapella spoken word. You were, it was a hip hop rap based, but there was no music tied to it. Was there ever a moment where you thought you wanted to be an actual musical rapper and that was kind of the path, or did that kind of get cut real short, or you just resonated more with the performance you were working with at the location you were at in LA?
No, man, the whole time I thought I was going to be a huge MC. I
Okay.
mean, that was still my dream. And for many of us, that was a lot of our dreams. A lot of the community that I came out of was heavily influenced by hip hop. And most of them were MCs at one time or another. Um, so yeah, man, I kept making records and trying to figure out how to get signed because at the time you needed to know an A&R. When I was growing up, it was like, oh, if I could just meet an A&R.
Yeah. Of social media.
And yeah, exactly. Now technology cuts out the middle person, which is fantastic because people have an opportunity to connect directly with their fans, or at the very least, just put something out into the world and see how people respond to it. Um, so no, I would say that while I was at the lounge, I was still definitely pursuing hip hop. And then at a certain point, it transitioned for me because like anything else, whatever you put your hours into becomes a part of who you are.
Mhm.
And the majority of my artistic time was spent at the lounge and at slams. And, I just got another text from this guy that helped to run a spot called the Mike and Dim Lights in Pomona. And I used to go there all the time, or Fly Poets. And so I think that those hours add up. And the simplest way to say it is that I just kind of realized one day that this was actually my passion. And this was actually what I had put my time into. And this is what I wanted to pursue.
That's fantastic. So a little bit of a personal question, just because I'm very big on people pursuing their passion. I'm 24, so I'm still young, fresh out of school,
Awesome.
and I'm curious, like, how'd you make ends meet? How'd you keep the passion going but still keep food on the table? Did you live at home for a while? What was life like as far as that to actually keep yourself being a living human being?
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't make ends meet. I didn't really make any money until I was past 30.
Mm.
Um, just on the other side of it. But
Process.
yeah, throughout that time, I mean, look, that's why you said, did you intend to be a poet? I mean, most people do not intend to be a poet because there's no market for it. It's very difficult to monetize poetry. And it's even harder to monetize it in a way where you maintain your integrity. So if you're doing poetry for a living, you love it. I mean, as simple as that. But I also believe that poetry is bigger than the market that it has right now, because some of the best experiences I've ever had as an audience member was sitting watching another poet on stage.
Mm.
Um, so I just kept at it, man. And then, during those years, I did everything from working as a runner to working as a night receptionist to,
Yeah.
you know, running the gym at a recreation center. And, these were interim period jobs that allowed me to barely get by.
Yeah.
And no, I moved out when I was like 18. I went to San Fran State for 1 year and then decided, it wasn't for me and came back to LA and started pursuing art full time. And and I just like found like these little back houses I could stay in, or places that you could just literally spend, I think, $500 at the time, and you could figure out how to make $500, and then you could figure out how to feed yourself. And when you're in your early 20s or mid 20s, I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you. You might have a completely different experience or perspective, but there was something kind of cool about being a starving artist, like striving for what you wanted to achieve in the world, you know.
Anything else?
Every day you wake up, it's right around the next corner. But let me tell you something, man, when you hit 30 and you're still like, damn, how am I going to pay for dinner? Or can I, it stops being cute. So I had to make different changes along the way, not only to how I approached my profession, but to who I was, because I had a lot of things that were getting in the way of my own success that I was unaware of at the time. So I had to kind of discover those things and then actually address them aggressively.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, that's, I mean, I can't speak too much on it, but obviously the jump from 20 to 30, whatever happens in those 10 years, it's a big growing period for everyone, at least what I've learned from people older than me and what I'm going through currently myself. Here was a question that I was curious about myself. So the four main accomplishments I always see your name tagged to, it's award-winning songwriter, national poetry slam champion, best-selling author, and the Oprah SuperSoul 100 list. Out of those four, what's most highest rewarding or personally that you value the most out of those titles?
You know, I'm not a big awards person. I'm not going to front like I don't like to be validated, but
Right.
it was not a moment where I received one of those things that it was satisfying in a way that I could, you know, say to you, this is my favorite.
Okay.
I'm really grateful that people have acknowledged things over the years that I've created. But I think in general, I was never making art to be validated. I think I was always making it because I had something to say. And so it's a cherry on top of the ice cream, you know, that other people actually acknowledged it. But it was a bigger deal that I found a way to make a living at it and found a way to continue being who I am as an artist. Because a lot of people, in order to make a living, they start saying and doing things that they actually don't believe, and they co-opt their own voice. So only you will know what your integrity is and what you want to create in the world and what you truly have to say. But it's my belief that if you follow your enthusiasm and you keep at it and you're very, very hardworking, eventually, you know, the skies will part and you'll find your blue day.
It's powerful, man. It's powerful stuff. If someone were to just come across your book, they're on my page, they're on your page, they're in Barnes and Noble. You know, obviously there's so much to take in here. Can you give us one takeaway, one major takeaway that you're hoping the reader can gain from reading your work?
Yeah, I mean, it's another complicated question. It seems simple, but it's complicated for me. I I don't really want the reader to walk away with anything because I feel like then I'm confining them to my expectations. And I don't want to do that. I mean, art at its best is a mirror for humanity. And I don't strategize my inspiration. I don't think like, what do other people want to hear? What will be popular? You know, I think strategizing your inspiration is like one step away from manipulation.
Mm.
And if you're manipulating your audience, you're manipulating yourself first. Um, so I want people to walk away with whatever they need to walk away with. There is a conceptual through line to the book. And in the end, if I was to put words to it, I would say that I want people to experience the process of alchemy, you know, realizing that there's power in pain and that you can transform it if you create rather than destroy. And I'd like people to walk away feeling, you know, inspired, feeling empowered, and feeling hopeful and feeling like there's infinite possibilities in life. But I don't really like, um, I don't even want to confine people to that.
I completely get that. And it's the way the style is, it's poetry at the end of the day. You know, it's going to hit everyone in a different way. You know, one line might resonate with me today, and then tomorrow I might have no idea what the connection is. But that's how I'm going to treat it, and that's how I would hope others would. You know, it's just it's a breath of fresh air. Whatever day you open it up, you might get something new.
Thank you, man.
Completely get what you just said. So can we expect more books from InQ, or is this a one and done?
No, man. I'm still writing constantly, so I definitely have more that I would like to share. This is only like 4 months old, so it's still like making its way in the world. It's a
Yeah,
little toddler, you know. It's like, um, so yeah, I think it'll be coming, but I don't know when it will be coming. And in the meantime, there's no meantime, so I'm just gonna be writing uh, and hopefully still finding other ways to share my words. I don't want to like hold them, you know, for 3 years until the next book, or a year and a half until the next book. Um, but I find myself inspired on a daily basis.
that's awesome. And I mean, for better for worse, you got a lot of material from 2020. We all, a lot of
Sure.
realizations came through for all of us. Um,
What
I,
is the realization for you?
well, first off, COVID caught my grandma. She didn't. She's strong. She passed through it, which is
Right.
amazing. But that took me away from my current job. Actually,
Mhm.
not by own choice. I was at the end of a contract and I decided to head home. I was gone for 6 years. I've been gone since 18. 4 years in Rhode Island, 2 years in Connecticut. I'm from New Jersey, born and raised, and it just put things in perspective. Why spend time away when I can, I only have so much time with certain people in a certain place. I got to be there at that given point. And then the Black Lives Matter movement and all the injustices. I mean, that's been on my radar since as far as I can remember. That's wasn't news to me. It wasn't a shock, to be honest. Sorry, I my background's actually in college basketball, so I've worked with a lot of African Americans, people from Central America, all ethnicities, where the whites were the minority. So I've had all the involvement of being around different types of people. So I have a very wide view on the matter. Um, but I'm just hoping that it's going to open other people's eyes. I mean, I always need to learn more, and I always want to learn more. But I definitely know I've definitely had a credible exposure more than others. Is the best way to put it. So, timer just ran off. Do you have time for 2 to 3 quick questions? You'll
Yeah.
answer. Your
I wanna
answer
say
will be
real
3 words.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick though, off of what you
Yeah.
said, that that's certainly great to hear. And there's nothing that COVID has brought into the world that didn't already exist other than COVID.
Yeah.
You know, like, at least for us. So all of this stuff, the systemic racism, the inequality, the issues in the healthcare system, it just brought them to light. And I just really have that hope as well, that because it's all being brought to light, that we actually don't go back to business as usual when this is all over, and that real change is made, because it's time and it's necessary.
Absolutely. And one last piece to include is everyone's like, let's get back to normal. But and Brene Brown said this. I'll coin her. She said, before wasn't normal. How can we go back to what was before if it's never been normal? So whatever lies ahead of us, I'm hoping for progress. I'm hoping for breakthrough. I don't know what normal is. That's not a tangible thing. I don't think it's ever been something we've been exposed to. But by everything you just said, I second that very highly. Quick question. I know you have so many poems. This might be a question you get all the time, and it might be annoying. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a number one poem that you were like, man, it's just everything about it, from every word, every syllable, it represented you, and maybe it's helped you personally more than it's helped maybe the next person.
I think it's the next poem that I haven't written yet, because
All
it'll
right.
be the closest to creation. You know, when you're creating, you're the closest to source. And the further away you get from that creation, the further away you get from source. So even if it's a perfect expression of your truth in that moment, the farther you get from it, the farther you get from that feeling. So I would say it's my next one. Even if it's not my favorite poem, in terms of, no, even if it's not my best poem, let's say it that way. it'll be my favorite.
Awesome. Well, very well put. Is there anything still unwritten for you? Is there a dream, a bucket list, a goal that you still want to accomplish that you haven't been able to, whether it's a financial inhibitance of some sort or a location kind of deal? Is there anything you're still looking to accomplish?
Yes, I'm not going to say them to you out loud because they're mine.
Yeah,
But what I will say is that if you don't have something you're continuously striving for in life, you're not living fully. You know, like part of what life is growth and moving forward. And part of what moving forward is having a goal, but also hopefully trusting that life will hold space for you as you pursue that goal.
that's big time. I like that. Last question. I don't know if you're a big reader, but is there anything you could let us know about, other than your own book? Is there a book you find yourself rereading, passing on to the next person? Maybe someone keeps giving it to you. It just keeps reoccurring in your life, that you can share with the audience?
Yeah, my buddy wrote a book called The Third Door,
Oh, yeah.
which is
Alex,
have
that's
you have
right.
you, yeah, it's a great book, man. I love that book. So that's like something more recent.
Mhm.
And then I just of course love The Prophet. I love you know, Celestine Prophecy. I love The Alchemist. I love Siddhartha. I really, maybe that's why I love The Third Door so much, other than the fact that we're friends, is because it's a book about a journey.
Yep.
And I love the hero's journey because we're all on it. And um, and I'm excited to find out what happens next.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've actually, Alex has been on the mini series before. The third door for me is huge because I was already practicing that lifestyle. I was already trying to find a way, DMing, email, you know, the third guy that he might know that he might pass. Think, you know, there's always some sort of person that I could connect with to get to the real source. So once I read that, I was like, wow, this is like, he put it into writing. Obviously, his journey is far more than what I've been able to accomplish, but definitely a fantastic book. Um, Obviously, grab this book and we'll say grab the third door as well. But in Q, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time. This was fantastic. I hope to stay connected, and I will continue to push your book out. Now that I have a physical copy, I will. I'll blast it all over my page. It's going to be a reoccurring image that you'll see on the Unleash the Knowledge page. And I thank you again.
Thank you, Owen. I appreciate you having me, bro.
Awesome. Take care.